like you did a little growing. You know, so that's what it's all about, man. You got to always be working on yourself, man. Because if you're not working on yourself, guess what? You're working against yourself. And then when you start working against yourself, you're giving your power away. And you don't have much of a choice. There's no other way for you to go down, to go but down when you're working against yourself, man. So you got to work on yourself every day. Every day. That's very, very vital, man. What they say, success don't come in a day. Success comes daily and what have you. So that's what it's all about, man. So that's why I say, man, that's why it's so important, man, to invest in yourself. So that sounds like to me that's what you were doing, investing into yourself today. Because as I say, you know, like there's no wealth without it. You don't have to be wealthy to invest, but you do have to invest in order to be wealthy. You know, that the same goes like with knowledge in order to really move forward to being successful. You have to invest into yourself. That's very, very key. Jimmy, have you made it on yet?
I'm on, brother. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing very well, Jimmy. Bella, not that we hear your voice, my brother. All right. So I know we're in for a treat, man. So I can't wait to turn you loose, man. So I know you got a lot in you, man. Like I said, when we was in North Carolina when we met, man, I was very, very impressed. Very impressed. So I said, I got to bring this brother back, man, and share him with my group. I got to. So that we got you tonight, Jimmy. We got you.
Well, I'm glad to be with you, Brad. I really am. Sir. I'm delighted.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you, man. Reverend Carter, you on? Reverend Carter.
Yes, I am. I'm on.
Open us up in a word of prayer, please, sir, if you don't mind.
All right. Eternal and all-wise and all-knowing God. Oh, God, we come together, oh, God, as a force of one, as men, oh, God, who's trying to do a work for you, oh, God, to go out in our communities and make a difference. We thank you, oh, God, for the visionary, Uncle Frank, Father God, that you put it on his mind, oh, God, to get men together, Father God, for one common cause, oh, God, to just uplift each other and make a difference. Father, we thank you for Uncle Frank and his ministry, and we ask you, oh, God, to bless each and every one on the call tonight and give us a mind that we'll have an open mindset for the speaker. I ask you to bless the speaker tonight, oh God. I ask you to empower him, oh God. I ask you to give him a fresh rhema word, Father, that we can go out, Father God, and make a difference, oh God, through his word tonight, oh God, that you would give us strength, oh God. We thank you. Go in our communities, oh God, and help us to mentor young people, oh God. Help us, oh God, to make a difference in our families, oh God. Help us to be men of standard, oh God. Father, we thank you. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen, amen. Powerful, brother. Powerful. I appreciate that, man. So we ain't gonna prolong the time too much. I'm gonna just go ahead and get ready to jump right into it. As we leave this call night, as the broadcast tonight, man, I'm praying, trusting that each and everybody be much better than they were before they came. So I'm just gonna do this little affirmation right quick. Say, I am strong. I am important. I am powerful. People will see you the way you see yourself. So show the world who you are by the way you see yourself. That's very, very important, man. You got to see yourself for being someone of stamina, man. You walk around with your head hung down all the time, man. People going to look at you. You got low self-esteem. And 9 times out of 10, you will have low self-esteem, and you keeping your head down all the time, man. Because if you don't feel good about yourself, ain't nobody else going to feel good about you, want to be around you. Because, you know, you exude energy. People want to be around people that got energy, man, because it's uplift them and build them up, cause them want to be able to go a little bit further in life. So that's why it's so important, man, for us to come together as a group of guys, sharpening one another, iron sharpen iron. We got to continue to come together, man, strengthening one another, because that's what it's all about, man. You know, like I said, just like charcoal, for instance. You take a pile of charcoal, when you burn charcoal, you take one of the charcoal and rake it over to the side and take it away from the pile, it'll go out. But the rest of them will continue to burn it. That's the way we are. We so much better together. We got to continue to stay together so we can continue to burn, man, and do the things that God will have us do. So that's why it's so important. We have to begin right now, guys, right now to remove those things from our life, man, that distracting us, man. We got to continue, man. I mean, continue. It's an uphill battle. Every day it's a struggle, man, fighting with Satan and this and that, man. We got to continue to think of ways every day, man, to use our strength, man, and we got to continue to develop them, man. We got to work on ourselves every day. We got to develop them, man, because our future and our wealth and our prosperity and our success depends on those things, man. All the good things in life, man, are directly linked to our God-dominant giving gift. And God gives all of us a gift. He doesn't give us just a gift. He gives us a dominant gift. If we operate in that dominant gift that he gave us, man, we wouldn't have to struggle. We wouldn't suffer, man, because he will be there to help us, man, because that's when we struggle, when we go off by ourselves, like telling God, I don't need this gift that you gave I'm going to develop my own gift, you know. So I don't need you. If I get in trouble, I call on you, God. Just settle that in the corner until I need you. I call on you. And that's why we wind up in trouble so much, man. So with no further ado, man, I'm not going to prolong the time. I'm going to bring Sydney on. And well, I'm going to go ahead and say this. I was speaking for tonight, brother Jimmy Capra, right? Jimmy Capra?
Capra, right.
Capra.
Yes, sir. Capra.
Okay. Yes. So I met Jimmy Capra, man, in North Carolina about 3 weeks ago, man. And this brother, man, he got such genuine spirit, guys. It's just phenomenal, just unreal, man. You know, so now he got on that stage, man, and he started speaking, man, I was really I was honing in on every word he was saying, man. And so when he got through, man, we just locked on, we just hugged, and went, hey, man, I told him, man, I felt him. I felt his heart, man. You know, he was very sincere. He wasn't a tight speaker just getting on the stage trying to flaunt his knowledge and do all this and that, man. He has a genuine spirit, man. I just feel him. First time I meeting him, and I just felt his spirit was genuine, man. And so I can tell you that he really cares about people, man. And that's what it's all about. Whenever I meet someone, they care about people, man. You know, that's kindred spirit right there. Yeah. You know, so and I really appreciate him, man. I really appreciate it. And I asked him to come on to speak to us tonight, and he so gratefully accepted. And, you know, so, and I appreciate it, man. And I know we in for a treat, and I know he got a lot to say. I just see him now, just like in the boxing ring. He's sitting over there in the corner now, just warming up, jumping up and down, left, right, just right, left, right. I just see him there, man. I'm visioning that. And so I'm not going to prolong the time. Jimmy, I'm going to bring my guy on and do the bio, and then we're going to turn you loose, man. You go for about 30, 35 minutes or whatever the case may be, man. Then we got some Q&A, so I want guys to take good notes, man. And so take your pencil, pad, iPad, telephone, whatever form you use to take notes, man. But do take notes, man, because what they say, a short pencil better than a long memory. You can't remember everything. I know he got some nuggets that he's going to be dropping like they hot tonight because they are hot. And so we just pray and trust that guy be very, very attentive, man, and just ponder on what you're going to say. Ask some very engaging questions. This guy have a lot in him. You'll see in just a few minutes. All right, Sydney, take it away, my brother. Go, go, go.
Gentlemen, tonight our speaker is James L. Capra. He is an author, motivational speaker, and currently the CEO and founder of the Frontline Leadership Group located in Argyle, Texas. He has been called to speak on contemporary leadership challenges, national security issues, drug use and abuse, as well as the challenges of raising children in a culture devoid of moral absolutes. Jimmy, as he is known by his friends and colleagues, retired after 27 and a half years with the Drug Enforcement Administration. Prior to his retirement, Jimmy served as the Chief of Global Operations, responsible for 227 domestic offices and 86 foreign offices in 67 countries. He has previously testified before the U.S. Senate and House on a host of national security policies impacting the safety and security of the United States. He is the author of Leadership at the Front Line, Lessons Learned About Loving, Leading, and Legacy from a Warrior and Public Servant, a children's book, The Eagle and the Seagulls, a wisdom story for children and adults, and recently his third book, co-authored with his wife Shelley, Raising Courageous Children in a Cowardly Culture, the Battle of the Hearts and Minds of Our Children. Prior to his DEA career, Jimmy served in the U.S. Navy, U.S. Navy Reserves, Air National Guard, and a military intelligence officer. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree from Marist College and a Master's of Education from Seton Hall University. Jimmy has been married to his wife, Shelley, for over 34 years, and they are the proud parents of 6 outstanding children, most who have taken up their lives as public servants. So with no further ado, gentlemen, tonight, Mr. Jimmy L. Capra.
Jimmy have been very, very busy, as you can see. So you know he got something to say, man. 6 children, good God. Now, when you have time to educate yourself, Jimmy? 6 children.
You know what, man? Who would have thought that this kid from New York, who barely got out of high school, would sit there one day and have the kind of career he had, been the author of a couple of books, and been successfully married. But let me make this statement to start off with. First of all, I serve an outstanding God who loves His children.
Amen. So, Jim, let me ask you one question. I hate to interrupt. You did call in on Star, right? You did call in on Star, right? You called in on Star, right? You did call in on Star, right? You called in on Star, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to mute everybody else out so no background noise.
Okay. We good?
Yes, sir, we good.
Okay. So I'll get started, and I'd like to start out with, first of all, I want to thank Frank for inviting me to speak. But as I was saying, when I look back in my life, my career, I marvel at God's blessing on me and my professional and my personal life. And if there's anything good that we've done, both my wife and I together, or personally, professionally, it's because of the God that we serve, and we just believe that. And I'm unashamed to tell people that, whether I go out and talk to Christian groups or whether I go out and talk to secular groups, it doesn't matter. I tell people all the time that listen, I don't care if you don't believe. I believe that I serve a God who loves His children. So that's first and foremost. And I believe that I serve a God who's active in the lives of His people, and He still has a remnant here on earth that He's going to make a difference. So those are the basic things about me. If anybody wants to know, how did you do this and how did you do this? I'm a guy that barely got out of high school, where I was one of 7 kids. My dad was a New York City police officer and got hurt on the job, broke his back and neck, and we moved upstate. And was a terrible student, just a terrible student. And we wound up, like I said, moving to upstate New York from Queens, and I left at 18 to join the service because I really didn't know what my purpose was in life. And that's why I think I have such a deep appreciation for young men and women between the ages of 16 and 20, because it's a tough time to, why did God plant me here? Why am I here? And so I wrestled with those things, and when I joined the service, I started realizing that I had some gifts and I had some talents, but still I wasn't satisfied. I kept saying, long before I knew about a guy named Solomon, way long before, in my own way, I used to, and I wasn't an avid Bible reader years ago, so I don't want to make anybody think that, somehow he's some holy, happy, healthy, wealthy guy. I mean, I was your standard kid growing up in New York and trying to find my way, but I knew enough to spend time asking the good Lord about things. Like I'd say, "Hey, Lord, I really want to know things." Now I didn't do anything in high school. I didn't do anything in high school. So, but when I get older, and as I served in the military, I started to realize that I did have some gifts, that I did start to get in touch. As I was able to speak, and I was very comfortable with speaking with other people. And I was a medic in the service, so I love the heart of service. I was very fortunate when I got out of the service. I stayed in the reserves. I met my wife the first day of college, and it really, I'll tell you, I really worried whether or not I had enough in me, to go through college. First few years was kind of a struggle, but my wife and I got married, and I finished, and my heart really was to serve in law enforcement. And I had the opportunity to, it barely got on the Drug Enforcement Administration, and did that for 27 and a half years. But I'll tell you that where my heart is today, one of the things, a few years before I retired, I was very blessed and promoted up the ranks kind of quickly, and saw a lot of, in these careers, you see a lot of evil, you see a lot of bad stuff, but you also see a lot of great things. And one of the things I start telling people about when we go to speak to different groups is, we're all we think that those bad things happen over there in this corner. They happen everywhere. And one of the things that became clear to me years ago was, because if you look on the news today, right, if we listen to anything on the news or in the media, I don't care what channel you listen to, MSNBC, CNN, Fox, there's such a divisiveness in our country right now, and I don't think there needs to be that many. I think sometimes it's purposely driven. I believe it's purposely driven by those people who really want us to be at odds with each other. But one of the things that you get to see up close in my career had nothing to do with race or poverty. And when I tell this to people, coming from a guy like me, people raise their eyebrows. You don't know what you're talking about. I said, well, actually, I do know. I know a lot what I'm talking about. Because everywhere I went, whether I'm dealing with international violators or domestic violators, one of the things I always did, I was one of the weird guys. Guys said, Jimmy, why are you asking these bad guys questions? I said, well, I just want to know about them. So we'd hook a guy up or a gal up, take him into jail. And I had a tendency to sit with them and say, tell me about it. How'd you get here? And usually, you'd see some of the toughest of the tough guys. And once they realize that you're treating them with a level of respect, how'd you get here? Tell me something about yourself. This is, sometimes it would take months for them to start talking. Other times, they didn't want anything to do with you. But in most of the cases, without a doubt, in most of the cases, many of the guys, because it's most of the people I come in contact with were males. I've arrested a few females in my career, but were males. But most of them, it was the same story. It was the same story, that no one was poured into their life. You ask them about their fathers, their family, and there was nobody pouring into their lives. Now, there are a few, I will tell you this. So I don't want to make it sound like where I'm going is parents are the blame for everything for the kids. Our children, can make a decision, right? And many of us, when we look back on our own lives, we can say that, I made a decision to go left. I didn't listen to mom and dad. I decided I was going to go this way. So we're all capable of being the prodigal, right? That's what we're all capable of doing. And there are a handful of men and women that I met over the course of years said exactly this. I just decided for myself I was going to do this, I wanted to taste that part of life. And that's what you get to see, that men and women get enticed to say, I want to taste that. I want to try that. I want to have that. I don't want to work hard for this. This is the easy way out. There's no easy way out because it's always a trap. It's always quicksand. But without a doubt, the majority of men and women you talk to is when you talk about their family life. And there is this consistent theme of these lack of fathers. And I think that's what Frank and I kind of hit off with about. And it's become very, very near and dear to me about witnessing to men and talking to men about taking their role as a father in our country today. This is heresy coming from a guy like me. What do I mean? When I stand up and tell a group, I was in a group with 1,000 men in it the other day, a few months ago, and I stood up and I said, listen, and it's a diverse church, and I said, we don't have a poverty issue. We don't have a race issue. We have a fatherless issue in our country. That's what we have. We have young men who are growing up without fathers, who have no idea, who have not been poured into, who have not been shared about how to be a man, who have not been shared about how to treat a woman, who don't understand what God has in store for them. They don't understand what their destiny is. Their destiny is not at the end of a pipe. Their destiny is not at the end of a bottle. Their destiny is not in a marijuana cigarette or a heroin vial or anything else. Their destiny is for greatness, no matter how long or how short their life is. And no one's told them that. Instead, they told, this is what you got to do to survive. This is what you got, because they have no man pouring into their lives. And I have a tendency to point my finger at men and say, listen, I know, divorce happens. I get it, man. I get that. Divorce happens. Kids separate. You get estranged. But you have a responsibility to your children. You have. I have a couple of guys that I've known over the years who've I call, this is going to sound terrible, but I'm just being honest. I call them collectors and married 3, 4, 5 times. And I asked them, hey, have you seen your son? Have you seen him? No, I haven't. I said, why not? He doesn't want anything to do with me. I said, it doesn't matter if they don't want anything to do with you. You have to be pouring into them, even if it's for a moment. Even if it's for a moment. That's what we should be doing. Well, my daughter doesn't love it. Yeah, it's hard to be a parent, man. It's hard to be a husband, man. But that's, you have a God-given responsibility to pour into them. And the problem, I think, with men today especially is we think we got to be perfect. We're always comparing ourselves against somebody else. We're always comparing ourselves about that guy or gal. And that guy in church, I think I was sharing with Frank, is I tell this story all the time. Here I am. I'm trying to race the church, and all the years, kids. I have 6 great kids, 3 boys and 3 girls. We can never get to church on time. It seems like can never get to church. I pull into the parking lot, and there I see this Land Rover pull in front of me, and out walks this man and woman. They look like they stepped out of a magazine. They both look like models. They got the perfect 3 kids, 12, 10, and 8. They got matching outfits on. They're all carrying their little Bibles, and I'm thinking to myself, look, I'm hoping that a car comes by and splashes mud on them. So that's how holy I am, right? And I look back in my back, and here's one kid who's still got pajamas on. Somebody's got the cat in the backpack. Here's my brood, and I'm laughing. So we're always thinking, oh, if I can only be like this guy, or if I can. Well, we're not called to be anybody else but who we are, and we got to recognize that, and be thankful for that. God gave us this our brood for us to train, to pour into. But I think if we look in our culture today, if we look in our society today, we've told men and women, right? You say, how did we get this way? How did we get, my friends, how did we get to a place where in our country, in the greatest nation on the face of the planet, that nearly half of all the children born in our country are born to single moms, and we don't talk about it. We don't say anything about it. We've lied to young women as they grow up and said, you can have whatever you want. You don't need a husband. You don't need this. You don't need this. We've lied to them. You can have whatever you want. You can have children, and you can be a CEO. Well, guess what? Something's got to give somewhere. We're dishonest about things because we want to be politically correct. We're not pouring into young men to teach them how to be young men, how to respect women, how to talk to women. I'm not talking about music or anything. I'm just talking about a man pouring into a young man, a woman pouring into a woman. Being honest with them and say, listen, your destiny is for greatness in this world. That's why God designed you. But we have this twisted sense, you see, of what greatness is. We have this twisted sense of what that means to be great. And the other real problem we have, my friends, is the fact that we've allowed this whole moral relativism to take hold in our culture. What do I mean by that? Is that anything goes, right? My way is okay, your way can be, it's okay for me, and it may not be okay for you, and that's all okay. Well, that's great. That's madness. That's madness. That's just crazy. I was talking to a group of young men and women at I forget where I was. I think the University of Texas, and a group of young men and women at a leadership group, and I sat. This is what I asked them. I said, hey, is there a right and a wrong? Now listen to this. There's a really smart group of young men and women. And I said, is there a right and is there a wrong? Do you know, out of that couple hundred people, there's silence. Some shook their head up and down, but most didn't want to answer. How can that be? How can that be? Is there a right and wrong? They're afraid. Not only don't they answer, you could tell they were afraid to answer. You see, they've been trained. They got this stinking thinking. They've been trained to think, I'm not sure. Of course, there's a right and wrong. Of course there is. And I often tell people that, my wife often says, hey, listen, if there is no right and wrong, right? If there's no right and wrong, that means 1 + 1 can equal 3. And if 1 + 1 can equal 3, how do we build a stable house? How do we build a stable bridge or a straight road, right? And that's why when we ask young people about what looks like, what's a crooked road? You know what a crooked road looks like? And people will say, well, yeah. And the reason they know that is because it's a standard. They know what a straight road is. And see, that's what we've got. We've twisted our young men and women's minds, and we've been afraid, and we've been pushed back in a corner not to speak the truth. And I'm to a point in my life and in my career. It's the reason why I wrote this 3rd book about children. We've been very blessed. Each one of my kids has had their own journey. And when my wife and I look back in raising them up, we did a lot of things wrong. We did. We did. I thought when I first had kids that I'd have perfect little soldiers. I had to have perfect little, and that's just not the way it goes, man. Each one of them are designed differently. And you learn while you made a lot of mistakes, and fortunate enough that they forgave us. But each one of them have had their own journey. Some have had more adversity than others. So I tell people, don't think for 1 minute we were this happy, holy, healthy, wealthy Christian group. We're not. Some of my kids have been through the mire and back. Didn't get locked up. None of them were on dope or anything, but some of them had their own journeys, and they've survived through it because of their faith and because of their own dogged determination that we tried our best to pour into them. And so we need to get back to this whole not being afraid to speak out, I think, especially as men, about what we want to do for this next generation. And listen, I'm tired of listening to people tell us we'll just throw a lot of money at it and somehow it's going to be better. We need to come together, especially as Christian men and women. I'm serious. It's to speak the truth to one another. Frank said earlier, as iron sharpens iron. I told this group, if you've ever, we say that easily in our community, especially in the Christian, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And it's great, it's powerful and everything. But if you've ever seen iron really being sharpened, if you've ever seen how a sword is made, man, it's brutal. It bangs. There's flame. There's heat. There's sparks. It's violent. And I think we're coming to a season, I think we're in it already, that we have to look each other in the eye and love and say, dude, we have got to make a difference in these young men's lives. One of the things I said earlier is half of all the children born here, and in some communities that number is higher, and we don't think anything about it. It doesn't bother us, and I'm astounded. How can it not bother us that we have young men and women growing up without anybody pouring into them? Nobody's pouring into them, and so they don't know how to be a man. They don't know what it's like, what honor is. They don't know what real courage is. They don't know what really what sacrifice is about. Instead of it, it's become all about them. It's become all about me. And I think what we're seeing now, whether it's on our college campuses, is this is my generation's children. And as a matter of fact, my middle son, who's had his own journey, he's actually now a police officer. He said to me a couple of years ago, and forgive me but this is what he said. He said, "Hey, Dad, what the hell is wrong with my generation?" And he was saying it rhetorically, because he says there's a lot of selfishness. There's a lot of guys and gals. It's all about them. There's no real commitment. One of the things that I said when my wife and I started writing this third book, Raising Courageous Children, and it is not a how-to book. This was not about, well, let me give you the magic. I don't have magic. I can tell you the mistakes we made, and I can tell you that we spent a lot of time on our knees, and I can tell you, it's funny. I told the group not long ago. I said, this is not a how-to book because I threatened to pull body parts off my kids when they were younger. So I don't mean to sound crude, but it's true. We did a lot of wrong things. But how are we losing? We're the wealthiest, one of the wealthiest nations in the world, but we're losing this generation of young men and women. We're telling them it's okay to do anything they want. We're telling them that there's no standard, there's no moral standard anymore, right? Oh no, there's no moral. Try bringing that. By the way, we're trying to say anything goes, whatever you want. It's okay for you to do whatever you want. Anything goes. There's no moral standard. Your right can be my wrong. But you try that in the workplace. This is what I've told people. We say culturally what's okay for them to think that. You try going into IBM when they say, here's our mission, vision, and values. And you try to tell the guys in IBM as you're the new kid working there, well, that's nice, but I don't believe in that. I'm going to go my own work. See how long you last there. You see what I'm saying? And yet in society, we got to let them live how they want to live. That's BS. That's chaos. And we gotten to a point where there's no standard anymore. We've moved away from godly standards. And I'm not talking about reestablishing a theocracy. So just so you understand, I'm not talking about I'm going to force everybody to be a Christian, but in our country, we had a standard that everybody expected to live by. As a matter of fact, that's what our laws are about. Our laws are about how we expect others to act in our society, both from a moral position and a societal position, how we expect our neighbors to act to each other. But we keep throwing that out there. Everything is okay. It's okay. Well, it's not okay. It's hurtful, and we're ruining generation upon generation. And I think we have to get back to really speaking the truth and telling young men and women, hey, man, you have purpose. You are destined for great things. God has a plan for you. And that's a powerful thing to look at. As a young man in the in the service. I'm working in the emergency room one night. Like I said, I was a medic, and I'm working in the emergency room one night. I had great parents and everything. Don't get me wrong, and I'm sitting there, and there was this naval officer. I told the story. I think Frank heard it. Young naval officer comes in the front. He's bleeding on his arm. We bring him in the back. I patch him up real quick and wait for the docs to sew him up. And I ask him, hey, what happened, sir? And he said, I was working on the deck of the ship, wasn't paying attention. He goes, and cut my arm, and my guy scooped me up, and it brought me there. And it doesn't sound like much, but I remember looking at this guy, how he was talking. He was looking right at my eyes, looking into my eyes, speaking directly to me. And then he's called me by my rank and my name. He's a Petty Officer Capra, Petty Officer Capra. And that was not done a lot in the hospital environment. You usually called by your last name or nickname or something else. But somewhere towards the end of this, he looks up. He said, so Petty Officer Capra, he goes, what are you going to do with your life? And I'm thinking to myself, who is this cat? Well, I don't know this guy. He's asking about me. And I remember talking to him. I remember saying very sheepishly, well, sir, I'm going to get out in a few months. And I'm not looking in his eyes because I know what's going to happen. See, I've told other people what I was hoping to do. I've told others what my plans were. I told others, and you always get this kind of pat on your head. Say, well, that's good for you. Nobody, that kind of patronization of, oh, that's okay. And so I was telling this guy, I'm going to get out, and I hope maybe someday if I can make it through college, because I really wasn't sure if I could do it. I really had a lot of doubts about what I was capable of. And so I told him I hope that I could finish, and then maybe I could be a commissioned officer someday. And so I'm waiting for the response of, well, that's nice. And I look up, and here's this young naval officer looking at me, smiling. And he looks at me. He goes, Petty Officer Capra. He goes, that's outstanding. That's awesome. He said, let me tell you something, Petty Officer Capra. He said, the Navy needs men like you who are willing to go out, learn, and become leaders and come back. And then he stops. He goes, you know what? The nation needs men like you. And then he says this to me, you're going to be awesome. Now, I know that doesn't sound a lot to anybody today, but as a young 20-year-old kid from New York, is the first time somebody spent just a few minutes and telling me, hey, kid, you have value. You have a purpose. Your plan is good. And to this day, that's nearly 40 years ago, man. To this day, I remember that and go, man, that guy just spent a little bit of time pouring into me, just a little bit. And so when when I talk about the things about family, when I talk about, estranged sons and daughters, when I talk about father's responsibility, I'm not talking about, my God, I gotta quit my job to do. I'm talking about putting the time in, just put time in and building them up and this. And when we talk about discipline, I don't mean punishment. I mean training them up about what's right and what's wrong. Even when you don't think that they're hearing, you keep pouring in and you keep pouring in. One of my favorite Proverbs 22:6 says, train up a child in the way he'll go, and in the end he'll never return. He won't turn from it. There's no promise that he won't or she won't go off the path. But I believe, and when I wrote this down, I believe that in the fullness of their time, even if they decide to go another path, maybe it's during their last breath, I don't know, that they'll come back to it. And so those things are hard. Parenting is hard. It takes discipline. I call it getting into the arena every day. And so people think, because I was as an executive in law enforcement for years, and oh boy, you ran this global operation things. I've kind of went full circle from talking about leadership things to talking about parenting to talking about our responsibility of men, of what we're responsible for, because we're raising that generation of men and women. And they're the same men and women that are today that I can tell you, some of them are just like I was, going, man, do I have a purpose? Is there something good for me? And there's kids that come from horrific backgrounds. They don't know their fathers and mothers and everything, but somebody's got to be pouring into them. And I tell people all the time, well, what I've had guys walk up to me, well, Jim, my kids are all grown and everything. I said, well, what about the people on your street? This is what you talking about. I said, what about the single mom on your street or the single dad on your street or to get involved in a boys club, or how about a church ministry group? And I'm not asking you to go milk goats in Peru. Just to get involved, to get involved. You look at a kid's eye and say, dude, you're destined for great things. It's not a complicated thing. And I think we need to be willing to push back when people come along, or especially when legislators and politicians come along and they want to establish laws that are going to be hurtful to our generation. You spend as much time as I did in drug law enforcement, and you see the ravages that drug use and abuse takes. It takes on the person, takes on the family, on the neighborhood, on the city. It's just horrific. And those drug abuse and use go hand in hand with crime, destruction of families, and yet here we are, the greatest nation on the face of the planet, and we're running around telling people that we should legalize drugs. We should legalize, and I shake my head to going, why are you paving a road to hell for the next generation? And it's brought about by a bunch of lies. And well, we got all these poor people. Listen, I'm the guy that was called to clean up areas to say, hey, this because of stupid legislation that they have. I don't understand it. And in that vein, sometimes we get pushed into a corner because of the false narrative out there. People spewing false facts about things. And I think we got to stand up and say, hey, enough of that. Hey, I don't want my grandchildren. I've got, 6 kids, and I have my first grandbaby, and I don't want him to inherit a nation that just says anything goes, man. Anything goes. Don't worry about it. I always wonder, why would very smart people want to legalize drugs? Why would really smart, wealthy people, billionaires, why would you want a pharmaceutically induced younger population that's disengaged from their responsibilities? And I don't mean to go off on that, my friends, but this is serious stuff, man. This is, and we sit here and we get listened to talking heads talk about poverty, talk about race, and those things are important, man. Those are issues. I'm not saying they're not, but my God, man, we're becoming a fatherless nation. We're walking away from our responsibility to our children and our wives and our community and our families and our churches. For something, for a temporary pleasure or something else like that. And I think when you talk about iron sharpens iron, man, you got to be able to brave and look at a brother and say, dude, you're walking the wrong direction, man. That's hard to do, man. That's hard to do. To look at somebody and say, listen, I love you, but you're screwing up. And we're not used to doing that. We're, the Lord is good. Yeah, the Lord is good. But every now and then we need to smack over the head with a 2x4 and say, knock it off. Get back here. Pick up the phone. Call somebody. Tell your kid there's a better life for you. I'm reminded of the young mom during the Baltimore riots who caught her kid in the mask. And everybody was ranting and raving about she was swearing at her kid. And I want to give her an award, man. She didn't want her kid to be the next Freddie Gray, man. She was screaming and yelling. Why? Because she loves her kid. People are going, oh, that's terrible. No. Listen, regardless, she has 4 or 5 kids, man. She doesn't want her kid to go down that path. Where are we as dads? Where are we as fathers? Where are we as husbands? We need somehow to get back at, and I think we need as a community of men of faith to be willing to stand and say, hey, you know what? This is not good for us. This going in this direction is not good. Going in this direction, and I think we have a responsibility from a legacy point of view to the next generation. In other words, what am I handing my children and my children's children? What are we handing them? What am I leaving for them? Dude, I made so many mistakes. It's pathetic, but I keep going into the arena every day, spending a lot of time on my knees. I'm even my adult kids, when an opportunity comes when I can speak into their lives, and it's not thus saith the Lord thing. Sometimes I'll say, hey, that's stupid. Why are you doing that? Right? You hear what I'm saying? I'm not, somehow, some fancy language. I'm just me, So if I see them doing something, hey, listen, that's an unwise decision, and you got to be careful about that, And sometimes they just want to talk, and I just got to let them talk, So I don't have some kind of perfect little Christian family, man. All of us got wounds. We all been to the hospital and back, if you know what I mean. But we all serve a great God. And thank God he's a forgiving God, because I'm that guy that's at the wall. I go to the wall, And I'm saying, hey, Lord, it's me again. I messed that one up, but how come I still dealing with that? And then I get encouraged to go back into the arena, fight for my family, fight for my children, fight for my grandchildren, fight for my community, and fight for my country. And I think that's what we need today. Enough of this. Here's how we solve that. Here's what here anything goes, and we should be allowed to do this, that, all the hot topics. You get back to having fathers in the household again, fathers who love their wives, and I'm not talking about a perfect culture, man. Divorce happens. I get that. We make mistakes. That happens, man. But I think we're to a point where we're just like, it's no big deal. It is a big deal. It's impacting these men and women, these children. I saw this pastor was in a town hall, and they literally just ignored him. But I forget. He was asking about. They were asked about young black men in the city, in the urban city where he's at. And this guy was just so powerful, man. He looked straight at the camera. He said, "We have young black men that are grown up angry because they don't have a dad." And regardless if it's a black man, a white man, a blue man, I don't care. That happens everywhere. Kids and boys that grow up without dad grow up angry. They grow up with a chip on their shoulder, man. No one's pouring into their lives. And young women who grow up without a dad in their family, the stats are incredible, my friends. The statistics for children who have no influence, zero, from a father, are frightening. Everything from not just teenage pregnancy to crime, mental issues, you name it, early death. It's just, and here we are, the greatest nation on the face of the planet, and we're not talking about it. Oh, that might offend somebody. Nope. We might offend somebody who feels very offended that we're telling them you have a responsibility to your family. And so I stopped dancing about those things anymore. I still talk about leadership issues, and I still talk about national security things. But I think the biggest problem, the biggest issue that we have today is we're losing fathers, and that's a representative of our country. We're becoming this fatherless nation, and we have to get back to it. We have to be willing to talk to men and women about their responsibilities to their children, and enough of this selfish kind of stuff that we have going. And that's hard to do. That iron sharpens iron. That can be violent, man. It's a lot of banging and sparks and everything else. But so that's where my heart is, right now. I got to talk a little bit about it in North Carolina. I think that's where Frank and I hit off on, because I'm brutally honest when it comes to that. I've had guys and gals roll their eyes at me. I've had people tell me, you're wrong. We need to do this, that, and the other thing. That's fine. I don't care, and it doesn't bother me who's offended anymore. Listen, man, it's tough. One of the reasons we wrote this book is it's just Shelley's and I journey, man. Made a lot of mistakes, but we never gave up, man. We never gave up. My wife could have thrown me out of the house 30 years ago. I was gone 18, 19 hours a day, working job. Wake up one morning and I'd say, I'm going, and I'd call her, a week later because I'm on some operation on the East Coast, about 3,000 miles away, and she just hung in there with it, and we spent a lot of time on our knees, So I'm not trying to preach from any kind of perfect position. Trust me, I'm a Class A chucklehead who still spends a lot of time on his knees. But you know what? We decided a long time ago we weren't giving up until it killed us. We were staying in the fight, man. We're staying, and we still are. And so we try to share with people. It's kind of more than anything that there's hope, man. Never give up. There's always hope, man. And there's hope. Hope is not wishful. It's not a wish. Hope is a confident expectation. Listen to me. Hope, when we talk about hope, it is not a wish. It is not some kind of fruity thing. When I believe when God talks about hope, faith, and love, that hope is this confident expectation that God is going to move in our life when we put him first and say, Lord, I want to be the kind of man I'm supposed to be. I want to be the kind of husband I come to. Whether you left a wake of destruction or maybe for all intents and purposes, people look at you and say, you kind of had a great life. There's always something to learn. There's always some way to get better. There's always something to be more engaged about. And I think that has to be on our heart. And the bottom line is this. This is just me. The bottom line is I want to finish well. I have, my wife and I realize we have more years behind us than ahead of us. So we do want to finish, want to finish well, and whatever time that good Lord has left down here. And so we speak from a kind of this bold truth about talking about families and lives and loved ones, and people matter. Those, like I said, our young men and women have a great destiny. Some of them don't know it yet. They don't know that they're destined for greatness. No one's told them that they're destined for greatness. So that's where I'm at right now. Like I said, we just finished this third book, and Raising Courageous Kids, and it's just our walk and our mistakes, and we got permission for our kids to write about their journey, and it's still early in the book. It's doing kind of well, and we're trying to get into some family conferences and speak from that angle. And but I still speak on a whole host of other things, especially leadership and loving people. I talk a lot about loving people at the workplace, which is foreign to a lot of people too. So, but listen, Frank, I've been talking a long time. So, what? You still with me? Or am I talking to nobody?
Yes, sir. I'm still here, man. You wide open, man. That's good stuff.
So I'm just looking at the time. So I'll be glad to hear from others or talk or whatever you got, man.
Okay, man, that was awesome, man. We got about 15 minutes remaining, man. You was spot on, man. That good stuff you're talking. Just like that's what we talk about all the time, man. You're absolutely right. We don't have a youth problem. We have an adult problem because a lot of time our adults, they crying out. You know, they saying, Daddy, where are you? I think I was just talking about that the other week. They crying out, Daddy, where are you? That's the biggest problem, because then we got to start being a little bit more creative, man. We got to come up with more creative ways how to reach these young people, man. Because if we continue, like I always say, Jimmy, if we help them to pull their dreams up, they'll automatically pull their pants and everything else up. You know, their attitude and all that, they'll pull them up. And we just tap into them and show them that we care. We got to quit trying to tell them what to do and befriend them and let them know that we do care. But like they always say, you know, a person don't want to know how much you know until they know how much you care. And that was true way back then, and it's still true today, man. So,
absolutely,
so we don't have enough. Go ahead.
No. I mean, how many kids do we know? You know, I have friends and people that you know who you know, who grew up like we did, but grew up with a single mom or single dad, and freaking outstanding people that parent poured into them, you know, no matter what. So I'm not, you know, a lot of times people say, well, Jimmy, you know, what about all the single moms? Are you saying they're not? No, I'm not talking about that. I got a heart for men being back involved in their kids, but more importantly, people pouring into those kids and taking just a moment. And that's why I tell that story about the Navy. Just a moment for somebody to look at a kid's eyes and say, man, you are destined for great things. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Just that one moment can make a difference in a young man's life. Just that one moment. You know what I mean?
That's right. Absolutely.
So I don't, like I said, I don't have, Frank, I don't have the recipe on how to make all things perfect. But I do know that. I know when you speak positive, when you speak into young men or women's life, or your wife, or your husband, whatever's life, you pour that in there. That'll take root, man. That'll may take a while, but it'll take root. And that's, you know, instead of telling them, you know, and because it's easy to do. It's easy to tell somebody you're stupid, you're not meant for anything. And some of these kids get told that. Never been told you're destined for greatness, man. Don't listen to that crap, you know. You're not stuck here. This isn't the end for you. This whether you're, and let me tell you something. I don't care if you come from the barrio or you live in Beverly Hills. I'll tell you what, parts of kids are a lot alike. They may wear different clothes, but I've talked to some very wealthy kids who are completely so screwed up. And they got a mom and dad sitting home who's throwing money at them, but they're not pouring anything into them. So there's no, it only happens here and there. It's a hard thing, brother, you know? I'm sorry, man. I don't mean to take the day.
No, you're all right, Jimmy. You're all right. And you're spot on, man. You were absolutely right when you were talking about, man, there's hope. There's always hope for them. So that's what we got to be able, like you said, we got to be able to spend time with them. You know, I was just, I'm going to say this right quick, I'm going to open up the calls for everyone there because I got so much that I can speak on this subject, man. You got me, you got me fired up, Jim. You got me want to talk. Because, but, you know, just be honest, but it's true. We ain't making anything up. Everything you're saying is spot on. It's true. I was just the other day, man. I was coming up Austell Road, and it was this lady, and she was she had about 3 kids. The kid was out in front of, and she was studying on her phone, wasn't paying no attention to the kids at all. And one of the little girl, and the little girl looked to be about 3 or 4 years old. And I was just saying, why don't she grab that child's hand? It's a busy highway. And then all of a sudden, the little girl fell. And when the little girl fell, and she went over there and she popped that boy upside the head. The boy looked to be about 7 years old at the most. She popped him upside the head. Man, I got angry, Jimmy. I really did. And then and she had him responsible for that child falling. And where she been paying attention on that phone, man, hold that child in, it wouldn't have happened. And then a few minutes later, she was saying something to the child. Then all of a sudden, she just took a fist, man, and she just went to hitting that little boy upside the head, man. And he was just trying to get out the way. I mean, she would hold him, just hit him about 3 times with her fist upside the head. And I looked up, I said, hey, ma'am, I said, you know that child abuse? And she looked at me, and she said, no, it's not. Man, I wanted to turn that car around, Jimmy, and go put some on, hit me like that. But, but it could have really got ugly. I didn't like it. So that's the problem with a lot of our kids. They abuse them. They push them, because the Bible plainly tells us, do not provoke your child to anger. Yeah. That right there was provoking that child to anger. That would cause the average person to come around with a right hook. They'll do it before they realize it, man. They don't mean to do it. They'll do it before they realize it. Well, then you want to say they're disobedient. Yeah,
all of us. I mean, I can look back and go, man, we all made mistakes, and sometimes say things that we can't. But if you can, if you're talking to them, one of the things that at least my wife was good about, and I learned the older I got, was to be able, when you screwed up, to be able to get with them and said, listen, man, Dad was wrong about that. I'm sorry. And it doesn't necessarily make make what you did right again, but at least your kid can go, hey, my dad's human. He's okay.
Absolutely.
So, but again, I never looked to be their friend. I was their dad. I wasn't being their buddy.
There you go. That's my money thing.
No, I had no interest in being their, listen, man, I told you, I've had friends when I was younger. I had some of the guys who worked with me, look, man, you're tough on kids. I said, he goes, what do you mean? He goes, well, because they were like little soldiers. I said, well, some of that was misguided on my part. I mean, it was abusive, but we didn't put up with any crap. There wasn't this, we're going to have a little conversation. There was like, this is how it went. Now, don't get me wrong. They still tested limits and everything else like that. But I just tell people all the time, well, I'm not going to raise rapists, robbers, or anything else. So we learned a lot too. We did a lot of things wrong early on because we thought, that was like anything else. You learn, right? You learn. So.
Yeah, so we as adults, man, we just got to step up and be more role model, man. That's what it's going to take, because I think I was talking to Reverend Carter. He had said something here back. He was saying, somebody was saying, ain't no hope for this generation. That's the only way. Don't be no hope for this generation. People like you and I give up on them. We give up on them, man. It won't be no hope for them, because they need us, and we need them. And we can't continue to let them take this nonsense over into the next generation. And then it will be messed up big time, man. That's why it's going to take. That's why we got to continue to train as many young people as possible, and then send them out there to train their people, because it's going to take them, because they look for people like you and I saying, come on, straighten up, man. You got greatness and you can do that. But if their own peers start telling them that, come on, man, let us straighten up, man. We can do this, man. The world looking at us as we going crazy or this and that. It will make a huge difference. If we train enough of you people and insert them out there amongst them, start talking just like you and I talk, it will make a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely right, man. Tell them that there's hope. There's always hope, man. That's
always hope. Always hope.
Man, there's always hope.
Man, Jimmy, I really appreciate you tonight, my brother. You pulled into it, man. I'm going to open the call up, man. I know a few more people got a few questions out there. So let's keep the question kind of brief, guys, because we got about 8 minutes. And what have you. I don't want to keep Jimmy all night, man. I really appreciate him spending an hour with us tonight, man. That huge. I'm definitely going to have to bring you back, Jimmy, for part 2. Would that be all right?
I'd be honored to, brother. Honored to.
Okay, so we'll talk. So I'm going to open it up now for some Q&A. Keep them kind of brief, guys.
Hello?
Okay, if you're not speaking, guys, mute yourself back out, so keep the background noise. I heard somebody say hello.
Yeah, that's Sharon.
All right, Sharon. Go ahead, Sharon.
All right, perfect.
Get over here. Baby girl.
All right, hey, I'm calling in the background. Let me mute it back out, then hit star 6 and come in. Okay, hit star 6, Sharon, and come back. Star 6, Sharon.
Uncle Frank.
Yes, sir.
Hey, this is Gerard. I know that a guy is trying to come back in, but real quick, in the interest of time, just want to say thank you for the night. A lot of times I get all excited about the financial calls and how to put together a couple $1 million and things like that. But tonight, I really was blown away because this subject matter is so important, man, and it really hits home for me. As a matter of fact, one of the questions I have is, I have a 19-year-old man who I poured into this kid from the day he was born. I mean, I changed my life. I just, and it's a non-custodial, for lack of a better term, broken family kind of situation, but I refused to be separate from him and stayed there with him and just poured into him. But today at 19, this guy is breaking my heart, man. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night sweat because I can't understand how you can pour into a youth, read, study about what you should do. And then I even got confirmation tonight of 90% of what I've been doing is the right thing according to the views of the speaker. But then that same son at 19 who you purchased a car and gave it to him, live right across town. Joker won't even come to see you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like I said, man, if I got a list of problems, job, money going on. That's my biggest problem in my life today, and I just don't know the answer.
You know what, man? Gerard, I'll tell you, and this is the reality. Well, I think what we're faced with as parents is one of the things that I've said before. You do everything right, and your kid can still make a decision to go left. But here's the hard part for us is to stay the course, to still let them know that you love them. And it's hard, man, especially when they get that their hearts become hard and they say things to you, and then they throw those arrows and it hurts so bad because suddenly you're the bad guy. Suddenly you weren't good enough. You weren't this. You weren't that. Because kids will do that. But here's and I know it sounds easy for me to say, and it's not, because I've had the opportunity to tell this to friends and acquaintances is your job is not over. It breaks your heart, but part of it is spending time, obviously with the Lord. And when you get the opportunity to tell your son that you love him and he's destined for great things, when you be honest with him, I think that's one of the most important things. But believe me, I am not in any kind of Disneyland idea here. It's painful because I've had one guy ask, how long do I have to wait? I go, I don't know.
I don't know. That's right.
you may see it. And the guy starts crying when I told him that. I said, I don't have magic here, man, but I know we serve a great God. But it's possible you may never see him come back home. But I'll tell you, as long as you're pouring into him, no matter what, even if he doesn't want it, even if he or she won't take it, a good word from their mom, from their father, a good word from their father. I'm not giving up on you, son. I'm not giving up on you. I'm not giving up on you. You're destined for great things. That's what hope is, that confident expectation that God's still going to move in that young person's life. And the reality of it is, man, I hope it's not in your case, but the reality of it is that we come to a point where we say, I may not get to see that in this lifetime, but that's not going to keep me. I call it going into the arena. So Gerard, you go into the freaking arena every day and battle on behalf of your child. You go into the arena every day and battle on behalf of your child. Whether that's, on your knees before God every time he gets an opportunity to see you, that you say something, that you pour into him. Even if that means, son, you're going down the wrong direction. Son, you're going in the wrong direction. Don't do this. I'm here, I'm here for you. It's a battle. It is an outright battle.
It's an undercurrent. It's an undercurrent that pulling these kids. A lot of these kids don't even know they don't realize they're going the wrong way. They think they're doing the right thing, but it's an undercurrent that's pulling them down. You know, you can go in the water, you know how to swim and do all this and that, but that undercurrent pull you under.
That's right. That's a great analogy. Absolutely.
Hey, thank you so much. But again, that's the biggest thing I want to say. Just thanks for these words tonight, because it really hit home, and I'm encouraged. So thanks again.
That's great.
Thank you, Frank.
That's all right. Appreciate that, Gerard. Okay, we got hey, I know we got 1 minute to 9. I'm gonna. Can I get permission from you, Jimmy, to just go over about 10, 15 minutes if you can, if you have the time. If not, we'll go ahead and close out them, because I know we got a few more people who would love to have some questions. Also,
here, I'm all yours.
Okay, God, I want to respect your time, man. I want to respect everybody else's time as well, man. Okay, then, guys. So he give us a few more minutes, guys. So, Sharon, are you back? Sharon, let me open everybody back up and let me try it. Sharon, you still on? Okay, then. Maybe someone else got a question then. Go ahead, somebody. Can anybody hear me?
I don't have a question, but I had a comment.
Okay, go ahead, Michelle.
Just real quick, I was just listening to the guy that was just speaking, and something that someone told me one time. I mean, I don't know if it was confident for me or not, but, God was a perfect parent. I mean, about as perfect as you can get as being a parent, and he provided for, his children in the garden and things like that, and they still, rebelled, and, we do all we can do. I do believe in prayer. I have 3 children of my own. One that's real rebellious and one out. Our kids go through things that we don't know about. And like I have one son who I don't know, I know something's going on. He won't call nobody in the family and different things like that. But, I just really believe the word, it says that the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. Mm-hmm. And just like, Jimmy encouraged us, we just have to keep praying and doing battle. And I just really believe. I know I've prayed my children out of some things, and still praying, for them. So just be encouraged.
Amen.
Amen. Are there anyone else?
Well, hey, Uncle Frank, this is Phil R. Taylor and Jimmy, buddy.
What's going on, Phil? All right. Right. The man in the house. Talk to him, Phil.
Hey, it's great. It's great to be. I logged on straight at 8:00 Eastern and have just been so super blessed by this ministry that God has put on your heart, and I intend to be with you all, week after week. So God bless you for what you're doing and for everybody who's on the call. And as iron sharpens iron, so friends sharpen one another. And Jimmy, you know how much I love you, and that Jimmy and I, we work together and we speak together pretty much every day. And I never get bored of listening to him. I always find such insight, and he's the real deal. He's the real deal. And he just encourages my heart day in and day out. A man of authenticity, integrity, and love. And so thank you, Jimmy, for sharing with us today.
Do I owe
Uncle Frank for what you're doing.
Now? Do I owe you money for that? No.
I'll send you the invoice. You know how it works. Right? I'm your agent. That's how it works. But beautiful fellowship you have here, Uncle Frank, and bless everybody. Bless you all who's on the call.
Thank you, Phil.
Beautiful. Yeah.
That means a lot, man. You bless my heart, man. Just to hear your voice, man.
Oh, it's
and that's the guy, the guys that I gave the 17 biblical principles. That's the guy Phil. He's the one that wrote that guy. So that was powerful. That was powerful. I'm really enjoying. I listen to the tape every day, Phil.
Oh,
it really
God
bless
bless
my heart.
you. Oh,
really bless
God
my
bless
heart.
you.
So we're gonna be calling on you to speak to it real soon as well.
Well, I would be honored. I would be just so privileged to when you feel the time is right. So
okay,
great. Yes.
Okay, we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
God bless you.
God bless you. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, this is Reverend Carter. How y'all guys doing? I really appreciate the call. It was a fantastic message, Brother Jimmy. I appreciate you because what I do, me and Uncle Frank, we work with teenagers, man, and I see a lot of problems, especially with the fathers not in the equation.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the fathers can be in the house, but they're not there and sowing into them. So that's like not being there. And so when I go around and I talk to these young people, and you're right, they're missing something. They're missing that genuine, sincere love. They're missing something that's missing in that equation, And so we gonna have to continue to go out there and be the link that they need to go forward. And I went to a group home on Sunday over in Douglasville, Georgia. And these young guys, man, one guy he looked to be about in the 8th grade, and he had tattoos all over his face. And I'm saying, who gave him permission in the 8th grade to get them tattoos like that? And so I started pouring into him and saying, you can be somebody great. I said, you got to wake up and have an image, a new self-image. Change that image that you have. You are somebody great. God gave you a purpose. And so once they know their purpose and somebody that's genuine and care, they're open up to them. So I appreciate you tonight, my brother.
Man, let me tell you something. I honor you men for and we need men to be involved in that way. We so Frank like Joe Dudley and what he's doing and others like that, but we need men to be willing to get into the trenches and talk to young, and they need role models. Listen, man, they desperately need men to look to and go, I could. Are you telling me I could be like you? And I don't mean an NFL player. I mean like the Reverend or like you, Uncle Frank. Or you say, look, I got this thing we do. Look. God's blessed me. We're not perfect, but you know what? We're making a difference. And I just honor you, men, for being engaged that way, because that's you talk about an example not only to those young men but to a community. You speak to a community when you do things like that.
Amen.
Thank you.
James Capra, I'd like to thank you as well for your ministry. I know me as a young man. I know my father and mother split up when we were young, and as far as the child support, it wasn't there. But I thank God for a mother that said, "Hey, despite that, I refuse to allow that to hold him back." And so my mom, she allowed my father, even though he wasn't paying child support, to still visit us, still pour into us. And I always tell people that he can always go back and pay back all the child support, but all the time that he spent with us, that stuff could never be going back and paid back. So, but again, so it's always, like you said, the presence of the father is always, so relevant. And I just thank God that he was there, because he could have easily been in jail. And one of the things I want to say is, I thank you so much for your ministry. And it would be great if the church would come together as a whole and do the same thing that you're doing, realizing that, hey, this is it's a great American problem, and there's so many that are thrown away. Because I can easily say my father had a child on the outside, and he went just the opposite way because he didn't have the time that we had. The four boys had. We had time with our father when that one did not have it, but I thank God that he himself found God, and it changed his life, and now he's a productive citizen. And we have so many that's in our prison system that have been tossed aside. We spend $40,000 a year taking care of them when we can spend probably $10,000 a year, changing them, pouring into them, so they will become better dads and better citizens. So what do you think is the best thing for the church as a whole to come together? And like I said, not only start even with the kid, but, going back even to the prison system. And instead of spending that $40,000 a year, spend less and pouring back to them, change the mind and the hearts of those that are in there instead of just throwing them away for life and giving up on them.
Yeah, I forget who. Gosh dang it! Jim Lang is a friend of mine who he gets together with a handful of other guys who are all former felons. I have more felons as good friends today than I do as former cops. But they're great men of faith, and they go into the prison system and just speak into these men's lives. I have a family member who works in Sing Sing and is trying to make a difference for these young kids who think that's a rite of passage. That's crazy, isn't it? Going to Sing Sing prison is a rite of passage for some of these kids out in New York. And he's my brother's telling me, Jimmy said, we're trying to figure out a way to stop this cycle. And it comes down to family. It comes down to role models. It comes down to we welcome people to come into this prison and talk to these guys about the promise of tomorrow and, of course, faith. And without that, and I agree with you, the church has been, there's some churches that are real active in it. There's some churches that aren't. But a prison ministry is one tough ministry, man. You better. It's a tough thing, but they're like sponges a lot of times, because they want what do they got? Look, if you're doing 15 to 20, what do you got forward to look to behind those? Trust me, I know, right? So who's pulling for that? I honor those churches and those men and women who have some great prison ministries, and we have a handful here in Texas area. But you're right, man. Churches, we'd like to see more churches get involved in that. But you know what? It's hard work. It takes commitment. And we still have, because we want to be comfortable, man. It's like that. We want to be comfortable. We know that might cause me to get out of my comfort zone. But I'm sorry, man. I'll go off on another friggin' tangent.
No, you all right. We take about a couple more, man, because we don't want to keep you all night, even though you gave us permission. Though we still gonna respect your time. We got to take about two more people.
Hey, this is Patrick.
What's going on, Patrick? Talk to him, Patrick.
Hey, I just want to say I enjoyed the call. It was an awesome call. I can't say enough of just how much influence each and every one of us has. Right. Just to be able to influence somebody, just each and every day, a young person. Because I come back and sometimes I see people. I used to work with youth for a number of years, and I just see some of them come back and they say, hey, I see them on the street and they're making it. And some of them haven't made it. Some of them have gotten locked up. So everyone that you sow into is not going to go the right direction.
Right.
But even the ones who've chosen to go the wrong way, sometimes they'll say, hey, you know what? I was locked up. I was in prison. I didn't listen to you, but I still remember things that you told me, and I'm getting my life together. So just because you don't see immediate progress, which you won't see that a lot of times, doesn't mean that what you're saying, what you're pouring into a person is not working. It may just be a seed that's going to come to fruition later on. So I just wanted to just say this was an awesome call. And also, what is the name of your book?
We got to. The last book that we wrote is called "Raising Courageous Children in a Cowardly Culture." So if you just Google my name, it'll get you to the website or it's on Amazon, it's on Barnes and Noble, and we have a couple other books in there as well. I've got a children's book in there as well, but that's the most recent one where we kind of touch on a lot of hot topics and kind of our walk.
Awesome.
Those are great points.
You, Pat.
Right, man.
Hey, Brother Patrick, how you doing? I hate to jump in and speak to my brother.
Yes, sir. I was going to call you after the call, but I'm great.
Okay, did Karan, did you ever come back home? Sharon. I don't know what his phone must have died or something. Not Patrick. Frederick, you still on?
I'm here, Uncle Frank.
Okay, then you talk to him, man. I apologize, man, 'cause I know I told you I want you to take over, but I just got carried away and I finished up what I was doing. So, and I appreciate on standby and what have you. So, say something to him, man.
Oh, it's okay, man. Well, I just want to say, Jimmy, you did an awesome job. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and your experience on the Force of One call. It is true that this nation is in the season of a fatherless generation, and it reminds me of the scripture that talks about in Psalms 11:1. It says, "The foundations are destroyed. Right. What would the righteous do?" So the doing is taking action. The doing is being an example, being a model. And the doing is being able to speak to a brother and speak truth to power. And some of the things that you shared on tonight were very, very dynamic. And some of the things that I will be sharing too as well when I minister on June the 18th on Father's Day. And I'll be talking about the acronym of being the function and the nature and the characteristic of a good father in reflection of our Heavenly Father. So
awesome.
I appreciate your word that was in season. And I appreciate you being transparent about your family, about the things that you have seen, and also the particular lifestyle that you had to separate from. I mean, what I mean by separate is that when you went into law enforcement, you had to be this person. But when you went home, you had to be the function of the husband, be the function of the daddy. You had to be the function of the teacher. You had to be the function of the disciplinary. You had to be the function of the person that will share love in the midst of chaos. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing those things. And the last thing that I will close out with is that when you speak about our nation and in the area of becoming a fatherless nation, it still remains true that what our founding forefathers had said, that we still pursue life, liberty, and justice in the pursuit of happiness. And that's our foundation for all men. All men are created equal.
Yes.
Endowed with inalienable rights by our Creator. And our Creator is Father God. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you. And Uncle Frank, I don't know if you want to do an announcement of the segue of what's going on with the Force of One before everyone gets off the call, but I say that to the last thing on the call. But appreciate you, Demi.
Appreciate it. Great.
Okay, we'll do that in just a second, Fred. Then we get ready to close out. I want to say this right quick. Then I'll let you make that announcement. I'll let you do that, Fred. Like I said, we got, like I always say, we got our work cut out for us, man. So in order for us to really reach these kids to really get on the right track, we got to continue to get them to recognize, first thing, that they got greatness in them, man. In order for them to utilize it, they got to be able to recognize it, man. Just like he was saying earlier, man, they hope for it. If we can get them to the point to recognize that they got that greatness in them, that would give them hope. Because hope for the present will give them power for the future. And so we got to get them to raise their standard, man, to believe that there is hope. That's the first thing we got to do. Because we right now, man, we're fighting one of the worst epidemics, man, that ever plagued human mankind. And that's a I don't want generation. Because we living in a generation now, young people just I don't want anything. They don't see it, and they can't. If they don't see it, they won't be able to be it. Because they got to be able to see it. Otherwise, they would never see it. They got to see it before they see it. Otherwise, they would never see it. So they got to be able to see themselves being great and got greatness in them. And it don't come in a day. It comes daily. So we got to get them to start doing first thing first. And see, that's
Right.
the problem. We got to get them to the point they start seeing first thing first. They keep doing other things second, other things first, but they got to do first thing first. So I can go on and on that, man. I'm going to stop right there because time is fun spent. Jimmy, we're going to let you come back and say, give us the last few words, and we're going to let you close it out in prayer. And Frederick, go ahead, and I know many more guys got plenty of stuff they got what I was saying. I can smell that brain. I know, but they got plenty of stuff they want to say, but we got to close out, for sake of time, man. So that's why I got to bring you back, Jimmy, man. We got to have a round two, man. And so we got to. It's an awesome, awesome topic tonight, man. I love it. I really appreciate you, and I love you as a brother, Jimmy.
Thank you, man.
And I mean that to my heart, man. So we'll talk. We'll do. Okay, Frederick, go ahead and say what you have to say, man, and make your announcement and this and that. Then we'll let Jimmy come back and have his last word and close it out in prayer. And I want to thank each and everybody for chiming in. And next week, I'll have an announcement for the breakfast, guys. I thought I was going to be able to have it tonight, but I've been ripping and running, so getting prepared for a lot of other stuff. So next week, I'll have an announcement for the breakfast, All right, Frederick.
All right, well, guys, thank you for staying on the call. We normally end at 9 o'clock. We try to stay on time with the messages on tonight. It's very much needed. I want to also invite y'all to our Facebook page. It's Force of One Men. So it's Force of One Men. So looking for Force of One Men or Force of One _ Men on Facebook page.
No S at the end of men. No S at the end of men.
No, just men. And also in the Twitter account is Force of One _ Men. So you'll see the Force of One logo on there too as well. So make sure you like the page and follow it. You always get up to date with what's going on. The announcement that I want to make is an event coming up called the Financial Health Summit. And what you're going to get out of this event is you're going to get the foundations of wealth, the dimensions of wealth. You're going to have an attorney there that's going to talk about the will, trust, and also estate planning. And we're going to have Dugar, one of our Force of One members. He's going to talk about the basics of budgeting and some accounting principles that you need to know to establish some investments and other things that he's going to go over. And also we're going to end it with a bang. And we're going to end it how to protect your assets and how to protect your wealth and how to not only save but to invest into your future. And I want to make this last thing with the event. The cost of the event is $49, but we have a special treat for the Force of One members. Is that when you attend the event, you have to attend to the end. We're going to have a $200 gift at the end. $200 gift. So you have to stay to the end. You have a $200 gift that will be given to you. So basically, guys, this is free. We're talking the talk, we're walking the walk. And everything that we've been building up to now, my wife and I are actually hosting this event. So I just welcome y'all to come out. It's at 111. It's 1115 1115 at the Morrow Executive Center off Morrow, Georgia. So I hope y'all can make it. The link is 2017 Financial Health Summit. It's 2017 Financial Health .eventbrite.com. So it's 2017 Financial Health .eventbrite.com. So once you go to that link, you can see all the details. Everything is in there. It's pretty much, guys, once you pay and you stay to the end, it's pretty much free. We had favor with the speakers that are coming in, and they're going to bring the heat, and I hope y'all guys can make it. So register. The seating is limited, so it's very intimate setting, and we hope to see y'all there. Thank you, Uncle Frank.
And also, just in case they didn't get it, they have everything right with, they can go to Facebook page to get the link as well, right?
Right. The Facebook page has everything updated, and you can just click on the link, and it'll take you right there to the Eventbrite page, and all the details are on the Facebook page. And we are posted on the regular on our social media on the Force of One Facebook page. So I appreciate it.
Amen. Not a problem, man. Okay, man. All right, Jimmy and Phil. Once again, Phil, I really appreciate you. If you still on, I really appreciate you chiming in tonight, guys. And you got an open invitation, man, for the rest of your life to come back anytime you get ready. Feel free. If you don't give, if I'm giving you an invitation now, you can't say you didn't invite me. So you invite me. You got a lifetime membership.
Well, you just tell me when. You set a date. It'll be a joy, but I'll be joining you, Lord willing, of course. But
please do.
What a joy. What a joy and blessing this has been. God bless you all.
God bless you. All right, Jimmy. Take us out, man. The last one.
All right, man. Well, listen, thanks. What an honor to be with you all tonight. What a joy to see what God's doing in the lives of so many men and women. We talk and listen to about the hopelessness, but there's hope always. There's always hope, and there's hope because we serve a phenomenal God who wants to be active in the lives of His creation. Father, I thank you for these men and women who are on this call. I thank you for what you're doing in the hearts and in the hearts of young men and women all over the country. Father, we need a revival in terms of our young people.
Lord.
Give us a heart to serve them, Father. Let us be the remnant. That'll be your hands and your feet here, and let our words be pleasing to you, Lord. Let us make a difference in the lives of these men and women who will soon take over to be leaders in our country, to be men and women of purpose. Father, thank you for Frank and what he's doing. Lord, I'm always amazed how you connect me with other men of great faith, of purpose and wisdom, Father God. Father, bless them as they go out there for the rest of this week, Lord. Bless them, put a hedge of protection around them, and bless their families. I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And one more thing right quick, guys. We got a young lady going to speak to us next week about nutrition knowledge. This lady, powerful, man. Come back and learn how to eat and just learn how to live. She's going to speak to us about health and nutrition and all that crap. And the replay for this call is 712-432-0379. And the same pin number, 753-907#. And once again, 712-432-0379 in the same pen, 753-907#. It should be up within an hour, the replay should. All right. Love you guys. Good night.
Take care,
okay. All right. Bless you all. Bye.
Bless you. All right. Bye. Ooh, great call. Great call.